His mom was nowhere to be seen, which wasn't exactly new. She'd left the stove on, with a pot of water boiling away, and he knew that she was probably passed out again on the couch, with an empty bottle or two on the coffee table and a glass barely held in her hand. She'd been like this for as long as he could remember, and he knew he needed to do something to get her attention before she burned the house down, or worse. Tottering over to the stove, he reached his little hand up and grabbed a hold of the pot, pulling with all of his might, finally bringing it crashing to the floor after a couple of attempts. The sound brought her rushing in, a look of panic on her face. "Damn it, not again," she sighed. Walking over to the counter, she grabbed a towel and began cleaning up the mess. She looked like she was about to cry, something else she'd been doing a lot lately. As she finished mopping up the water, she leaned against the sink and the tears started flowing down her cheeks, joined by the heaving shoulders that always accompanied the massive sobs. Wanting to make her feel better, the small boy walked over and placed his hand on her hip, the highest point that he could reach. She shuddered at his touch, as if a cold breeze had blown into the room, and without a word she turned and walked out of the kitchen, off to cry herself to sleep in bed. As she disappeared, the boy felt a sadness of his own. She never seemed to look at him anymore, never picked him up, or cared what he was doing or where he was. His name, once a constant refrain throughout the house, was seldom spoken anymore. It was something he didn't understand. At one point, not that long ago, she'd walked into the room with a smile on her face, even as she found him coloring on the walls. "Timmy, what are you doing, you silly boy? You know you aren't allowed to use those like that. Here." She handed him a coloring book from off the dresser, and the pair worked together to bring to life to the crime-fighting turtles on the pages. Those were better times, when the sun always seemed to be shining and love filled the home. Now, as he looked around, unsure of what to do to get her attention once more, he felt the overwhelming urge to go lay down with his mommy. She needed him, even if she didn't know it, and he was going to make things right. Out of the kitchen, through the living room, down the hall, and into the third room on the right he went. She was already passed out, laying sideways across the bed and on top of the covers. Crawling up onto the mattress, he curled up next to her and drifted off to sleep, noticing a slight shiver from the woman who'd birthed him just before he lost consciousness. He wasn't sure how long he'd slept, but when he woke, he was all alone and the light of a cloudy day was illuminating the room as rain poured down outside. There was a low rumble of thunder in the distance, and though he did feel a bit uneasy at the noise, he also found it rather calming. Climbing out of bed, he left the room to search the house for his mother. She'd been difficult to find at times, and there were even entire days that he would go without seeing her. She used to take lunch to his dad at work, but on those days he would be with her as they surprised the man with a sandwich or maybe a full picnic. His dad was a construction worker. He got to drive big trucks and dig up dirt all day long on his job sites, a pastime that Timmy mimicked when he played outside in the summers. He wanted to be just like Daddy when he grew up, though as he thought about it, he realized that he hadn't seen him lately either. His dad used to always come home in the evenings, a smile on his face and dirt all over his clothes. He'd sweep the boy up in his arms and pretend to be a T-Rex, eating his belly before putting him back down to hug Mommy. Strolling back through the living room and into the kitchen, he could almost smell the dinners that his mom used to have ready when his dad walked through the door. Sometimes they'd all eat the same thing, but often the grown-up food was too yucky and he'd be given chicken nuggets or a hot dog. After dinner, they'd all go for a walk, or maybe watch some TV, or play a game with his toys, and as the sun started going away, it was bath time, his least favorite thing, and then a story and bedtime snack before his parents would kiss him goodnight and tuck him in. Where had things gone wrong? A loud crack of thunder outside caused him to jump as he searched the kitchen for his mother. He was just about to give up when the front door opened in the other room and he heard voices. "I said I was sorry. I fell asleep. Maybe if you'd been here when I needed you." His mother's voice sounded rough. "You know I can't miss any more work. We're already 2 payments behind, and I got a call yesterday threatening foreclosure if we miss any more. I can't do this right now. I need to eat and get some sleep. I've got to be in at 4 tomorrow to help lay the foundation." His dad sounded really angry. He didn't usually raise his voice like that, and Timmy found himself wanting to hide and cover his eyes. Crawling under the table, he watched his dad's feet appear in the doorway and make their way across the tile floor to the refrigerator. The light from inside lit up the room as he opened the door and rummaged around. "We're getting low on beer. Can't you do anything right? And where's the leftovers from last night?" His mother's sobs broke through from the living room, causing his dad to pause and sigh. "Never mind, I'll just have a sandwich." His urge to comfort his mother was greater than the fear of his father, and Timmy moved to climb out from under the table as carefully as he could to head for the living room. He wasn't careful enough, however, and he bumped one of the chairs in the process, causing it to make a noise. He heard his father's head hit the top of the fridge, and the man cussed before spinning around, a look of anger on his face. What the hell was that? He was red in the face as his hand went to the spot where his head had impacted. Running from the kitchen, Timmy found his mother sitting on the couch, her face in her hands as she tried to calm down from the fight. His dad soon appeared in the doorway, and the boy climbed on the couch, trying to act as a shield. "Did you bump something?" "No, I've just been sitting here." There was a shiver in her voice as the boy wrapped his arms around her neck. For a moment, he thought his dad was going to start yelling again, but the man's eyes softened and his head dropped. "I'm sorry I got angry. The past few weeks have just been really hard. I know that's not an excuse, and I know it's been hard on you too." When his dad looked back up, he seemed to be much older, and there was a tear clinging to the end of his nose. Within a couple of seconds, the parents were embracing in the doorway, both of them sobbing uncontrollably as the rain outside intensified. "I hate being in this house. I swear I still hear him laughing and playing when I'm alone, and I don't know how much more I can take." She sounded like a drowning person reaching for a life raft. "I still feel him too. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I'll call off tomorrow and we'll go see Dr. Thompson like you wanted." Anger filled the boy as he watched. He couldn't believe they were ignoring him again. Jumping off the couch, he ran at them, swinging his fists and trying with all his might to make them see him. Nothing worked, however, as they continued to pretend that he wasn't there. None of his punches seemed to be noticed, and his screams went unheard. It wasn't until he ran over and kicked one of his toys that they finally seemed to realize that he was there. "Did you see that?" His mother seemed almost afraid. "It was probably nothing." His dad was trying to sound confident, but his eyes showed the truth. "Timmy? Is that you, honey? Mommy is so sorry for what happened." She was still in tears as she spoke. What was she talking about? The fight? The way she'd been ignoring him for what seemed like weeks? As he started to cry, a nearby lamp flickered, and his parents both jumped in shock. "Oh my God, is he really here? Is that even possible?" His mother smiled through her tears as she spoke, but he wasn't sure if she was more happy or scared. "Timmy, if that's you, make another noise or do something to let us know that it is you." His father sounded almost hopeful as his voice cracked. But try as he might, the boy couldn't seem to move or affect anything else. He felt drained, almost too tired to move, and the world around him seemed fuzzy. He took a step forward, attempting to reach his parents, but blackness moved in before he could do anything, and he felt himself drifting off to sleep. As he woke, he realized the room around him had changed. There was new furniture, and the sunshine that he had missed for so long was finally back. Wandering into the kitchen, he found a woman who he thought was his mother making sandwiches at the counter. But as he drew closer and went to hug her, he realized that she was someone new. "Jacob, Philip, lunch is ready," she said, as she turned around and carried 2 plates over to the kitchen table. A pair of boys, not much older than Timmy, came running into the room a second later, a look of pure joy plastered on both of their faces. Timmy only just had time to hide in one of the cupboards before they sat down, and he thought one of them might have spotted him, though they were too focused on food to really notice much. He peeked out once or twice, trying to get a good look at the pair, and wondered who these people were. Had his mother adopted more children? Did he have siblings now? As he contemplated what he should do, the cabinet he was hiding in opened up, and he found himself face to face with the boys. "It's okay," one of them said. "We won't hurt you," the other smiled. "What's your name?" "Mine's Jacob." The first boy held out his hand as if to shake, and Timmy responded by pushing himself deeper into the space. He just wanted to be left alone, and as he closed his eyes, he could feel the silence and darkness fill in around him once more. Jacob and Philip both screamed for their mother as the little boy in the cupboard disappeared right in front of their eyes. Slamming the cabinet door, they took off for their bedroom, nearly running their mom over as they went, and by the time that she calmed them down enough to get the story out of them, she only smiled and shook her head. "There's no such thing as ghost boys. You're just not used to the new house yet, and your imaginations are working overtime." "But Mom, he was there, in the cupboard. I swear we both saw him," Philip said. "Well, if you see him again, tell him that I don't have the money to feed another little boy, and let him know that I'll be expecting him to pay some rent around here if he wants to stay." She smiled, and the boys looked at one another as she walked away. Over time, other families would come and go, and the house would eventually start to fall apart. Timmy would start to forget who he was at times, barely clinging to his name as the images of his parents' faces in his mind faded away. Sometimes, strangers would show up with little light boxes that he could interact with, and occasionally they would even bring toys for him to play with. He liked these visits, but they happened less and less as the years went on. Over time, the story of the old haunted house at the end of the street would grow into a legend. Most people forgot all about Timmy, and many have no idea where his story truly began. But to this day, you can still hear him wandering the halls of the old house if you listen closely on moonlit nights. Lonely and lost, stuck between this world and the next for the rest of eternity.